Hey, welcome back to another episode of Strat Fan Forum Football. The Strat Fan Football Show. This is just not flowing right. I gotta figure that out. The Strat
I think what you want
Forum
is
Football.
there you go.
Tell me.
The Strat Forum Football Show. I think that's the easiest
That's the way to go.
and most inclusive.
Yes. Excellent. All right. So we're back to do the SOMIFA playoff predictions or SOMIFA playoff preview for round two, or the playoff preview review. Thank you very much. So, Tom, how are you doing tonight? I'm joined by my co-host, Tom Cook, the chef, the master, the governor, the mayor. I like the mayor. Tom Cook, the mayor. That,
I don't,
you know,
I don't like
your
that.
political career is just getting started. You could wind up being mayor of something someday.
My political career is over. The only thing I'm going to be mayor of, I don't know. I'm not even mayor of the house that I live in right now, but I don't know. I think mayor. I think like corruption. I don't know.
I'm gonna make you
Governor, a little more stately maybe.
No, I'm gonna make you honorary mayor of SOMIFAville. There you
Very
go.
well. Okay.
Consider
And,
it
and
done.
and and if nominated, I will not run. No, I'm just. Well,
Okay.
we're here tonight, Thursday night / Friday morning, depending on what side of the country you live on, and the SOMIFA playoffs are moving on to the second round, also known as the round of 8. In the wild card round, which we reviewed the other night, the Buffalo Bills really took it to the St. Louis Rams. Apparently, there was a lot of one-sided luck. We've all had those games. That Rams team with Wayne, they overachieved. They had a great year just to go 9-7. We mentioned that they struggled against winning teams in the regular season, and the final of that game was 42-7.
Yeah,
It's a rough
that
outing.
game, I watched part of that game, and if you look at that Matt Schaub card, it's like that short pass column guessed right is like a '70s quarterback. So he did really well. He focused on running the ball and throwing flat passes, but uh, he had a great season regardless. And we should point out at the top that I went 0-2 in my predictions, while Tom, the mayor, went 2-0. Let's hear it for Tom.
I'd like to thank the Academy. And okay, but well, I was going to get to that after mentioning the second score, but it's all right. You jumped the gun a little bit, but yes, I did predict that Buffalo would beat St. Louis by about 10. They won by more than that, and I had the Niners beating Houston by a field goal. Indeed, they won by a touchdown, 38-31. That was a matchup of 9-7 teams. So you have the 49ers and the Buffalo Bills advancing to the round of 8. And you've got 4 games coming up here in the next week or so. And we're going to start off with.
So just remember, hold on before we start. Just remember, kids, pick with your head, not with your heart. Don't pick with what you want. Pick with what you think. So I wanted those other teams to. I want the other teams to pull off the upsets, and it just didn't happen. And I should say briefly about the 49ers Buffalo game or 49ers Houston game. That was one of those games. If you look at the statistics, Houston, just racked up the points, but it was one of those games where San Francisco got up big and just held him off. He didn't really have to take any chances. It was like 38-14 at some point, or 38-21, and he just held on for the win. And Paul did a nice job trying to come back, and a couple of breaks that could have been exciting at the end.
Yeah, I think Houston scored a touchdown in the last 45 seconds to close it to within a touchdown. Presumably, they did not recover the ensuing onside kick.
Oh, cutting out again.
Who's cutting out? Me or you?
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm there. Can you hear me?
Well, on my end, and I think I'm recording. You cut out for a second. Now you're perfect now, so keep going. Now we're ready to jump into round 2. So where do you want to start? Which game do you want to look at?
Well, I guess we'll start the way that Ed lists them in the standings file. It looks like he starts with the lowest seed there. So you've got what would have been the number 9 seed, San Francisco 49ers at 9-7, traveling to Tennessee to take on a 14-2 Tennessee Titans club, coached by John Madden, who's done a really good job building that team and coaching them. for several years, maybe a little underrated in league circles. I'm not sure. John is looking for his first championship, right? Because we had, is that right? Yes, because we had all the wildcard coaches have won championships, and Ron Martin. Those are the only people that have won championships in SOMIFA. It's our first look at the Titans this offseason. Let's review the Niners again real quick. Niners went 9-7. They scored 393 points. They gave up 348, a plus 45 margin. Lost 3 of their last 4 in the regular season. Did these two teams face each other in the regular season?
They did.
No, they did not. Now Tennessee, 14-2, scored 487 points. That's 30.5 points a game. Gave up only 269 points. So you're talking about a team that had roughly a 220-point differential in terms of points scored and points against, and that's going to be that's something that catches my attention as I look at these teams. San Francisco, we looked at the other day. You want to go through their personnel there, Dennis?
Sure. We're looking at San Francisco, or
yeah, Niners first. Do the road team first, and then the home team.
Okay. So the Niners are led by the mighty Mike Glennon. Quick quiz: who had more interceptions, Mike Glennon or Ben Roethlisberger this year?
I have not looked, so you're going to ask me. I played that Tennessee team. I know that Ed loves to throw flat. I'm going to say Big Ben.
Big Ben did have 15 interceptions, while Mike Glennon only threw 14. To back up Glennon, or to get people to stop calling pass, the Niners had D'Angelo Williams run for 1,400 yards and Bilal Powell as the second running back that ran for another 600 plus. Then Ed's real strength is in his receivers with Rob Gronkowski and Demaryius Thomas. On the defensive side of the ball, he has Darrell Washington and Whitney Merciless at linebacker. He's got strong players at every part of his team, but there's also weak players in every part. So on his defense, he's got a 6'10" defensive end in Muhammad Wilkerson, with no pass rush besides that. Dan Harrison at 5'1", and Jason Pierre-Paul at 4'1", finish off his D-line. And then his linebackers, he's got Merciless with the big pass rush, Darrell Washington with a solid 5, and then a couple of 4s, both with solid pass rush. And in his DBs, he's got Eric Weddle with a 6, D'Angelo Hall with a 5, and then a couple of 4s. So, it's an average. I mean, I would say above average defense, obviously, but it's not your powerhouse defense like you see with Tennessee.
Yeah, well, I haven't looked over the Titans' defensive personnel. I know that they're a strong team overall, but yeah, this NFL-led defense here has got 6 4s on it. And that's obviously a problem. I think especially when you look at outside linebacker 4s, left corner 4, strong safety 4. Those are all very appealing targets to throw at for Big Ben. And, of course, you've got Jamal Charles in the backfield for Tennessee, who has to be respected. So I imagine with Tennessee you're going to see Jamal Charles attacking Jason Pierre-Paul, who was only a 4.2 this year as he was injured in the NFL last season. And it's going to be hard for Ed to bring linebacker support up, because that right outside linebacker is going to be covering Jamal Charles, who's obviously a great receiver. So I think a lot of really favorable matchups when you start to look at the Titans' offense against the Niners' defense, and I think you got to attack those flats so that you can run with Jamal Charles, and you got to I think be aggressive with the short pass column, throwing short passes with Big Ben against some of these guys who don't cover that well. And if you hit the flats enough and run enough, it's going to be hard for NFL Ed to do more than double with his safety. And if you feel like it, maybe take a couple of shots downfield deep if you think you might get a favorable double team situation where he's doubling someone else. I don't know. I've gotten more and more conservative. I think I for about a year, I became a bit of a mad bomber. That was last year's SSFA, one of the reasons I probably lost in the playoffs, and in Battle Royale over the summer with the legendary Alan Risher of the 1983 USFL Arizona Outlaws? Wranglers?
Correct.
I forget.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah. So I mean, looking at the matchup, I really like the Titans' chances to move the ball well and score points on the Niners. It's always a matter of whether you're going to get field goals or touchdowns. Let's see, if you look at some stats, I would imagine the NFL, that's probably something he excels at, is holding people to a lower than normal red zone percentage. And let's look at those stats. NFL Ed had 81% red zone efficiency, his opponent 65%. And it looks like NFL scored a lot of long touchdowns because his possible red zone points were only 266. Looks like he threw a lot of bombs maybe with Glennon at times. Mike Glennon threw 30.
If Ed sees a matchup that he can take advantage of, he'll air it out. So he will get those Defender X versus man in zone, or Defender X versus, Defender X versus the defensive player, and he will take advantage of that.
Mike Glennon threw.
What his matchups are.
Mike Glennon threw 30 touchdown passes.
Yeah, but his yards per attempt was 6.5, so that doesn't tell me that he threw a lot of bombs, but mostly, I guess you're right. The red zone is
maybe he threw them from the 30-yard line. I don't know.
No, he was 81% in the red zone. So.
No, I know, but I'm saying that, but the opportunities. If you look at, it says points, possession, and percentage. The points impossible, I think that is, and percentage.
Oh, I see.
The possible is only 266 possible, whereas opponent has 420 possible.
Right. So that's pretty good red zone defense for him. And I'm guessing that he scored quite a few defensive touchdowns. Maybe that's where he's getting, and special teams. Maybe that's where he's getting his other points from.
Well, I mean, Mike Glennon had 30. Well, Mike Glennon had 30 TD passes, and he ran for 17 touchdowns as a team. So I mean, that's 47 touchdowns right there. That's pretty good. I see one pick six and nothing on the return game. So.
Okay, well that's it then. He's cashing in and throwing deep when he has to. But maybe his yards per attempt is being dragged down by Glennon's low completion percentage.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe unless he's within touchdown range on a bomb, because his longest pass of the season was only 51 yards. I just saw that. Maybe he's not throwing any bombs until he gets to around the 30, where if he hits it, it's going to be a TD.
So there you go. Tennessee, be watching that. Although we really have no idea. I didn't play that.
Yeah. Well, I played that early in the season, and every roll went against him, so it didn't even matter what he was trying to do. So I didn't pay much attention. I won that game, my first ever victory, I believe, against him in SOMIFA. And we're trying to parcel together what it looks like a guy is doing based upon stats, which really can't always tell the story in Stratomatic.
For sure. So, what do you think about Tennessee's chances in this game? It seems pretty high to me based on the personnel, but Ed's always a wily coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me just review the personnel a little more closely for the Titans. 3 sevens on the line, that's going to help, including Brendan Albert blocking Muhammad Wilkerson, and left guard Louis Vasquez picking up Darrell Washington when he blitzes. 2 sixes on the left side to run behind with a blocking back 5, so he can really hammer that JPP, that right in 4, with Jamal Charles. Andre Johnson's a maxed out receiver. Tequan Underwood has a good deep card. He's defended by a 5. Greg Olson, more of a possession guy, will be covered by a 4. What does Paul play? He plays 3-4 or 4-3?
3-4. Not Paul. You mean John.
Oh yeah, sorry, John. Yeah, the defensive champion.
John plays 3-4. Yeah, they both play 3-4 at Tennessee and San Francisco.
Well, you look at the defensive ratings. What a difference! We pointed out that Ed has got 6 4s on defense. John only has 2. And not only that, but one's the free safety and one's the right corner, which means he's got aggressive doubling opportunities there. You look at a defensive line that goes 5-5-6 with that mighty 7 asterisk from the down lineman Robert Quinn, who's a 6'12" 7 at right end. That is always tough to counter, because nowadays I was looking as I'm trying to make trades in the SSFA preseason. There's almost no blocking backs who are better than a 4. Back in the day, there'd be a couple of 6'7s running around. I think Stanley Havili's a 5. I'm not sure I found another 5, even on someone's roster. So if you got a blocking back who's only a 3 or 4, go ahead, Dennis.
I was going to say, did you notice that Stanley Havili moved in a trade tonight, which is kind of off topic, but Ed picked him up along with Daryl Smith in a trade for Jordan Gross, Chad Greenway, and a number 6. So he also has noticed that there isn't that many good blocking backs, and has moved to secure one of the few good ones.
And Stanley Havili, not a bad little flat pass receiving card. I have him in the fall league, and he, I think, caught about 20 passes for me or so, but I throw to almost anybody. So I know you were trying to goad me into throwing to Havili in our last game when we played via voice for the first time, but he did caught a couple of passes that game. I got destroyed that game. I don't remember the score, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I distracted you with my dulcet tones while you were trying to formulate a adjust. Try to do that again someday.
Yes, that was fun. And we should mention to all the guys out there, maybe we should post on it in the SOMIFA forum. In preparation for doing one of these video casts or whatever you want to call it that Dennis and I do here, one of these Strat Forum football shows, we decided to play an online game against each other by not by voice, whilst talking by voice, and to see what kind of camaraderie we had, because we had never spoken on the phone before, and we were getting ready to do a show together, and it was a lot of fun. It was a little similar to head-to-head with the dice and cards. If anybody's ever played that, a little friendly trash talking, a little, laughing at some unusual results, and I recommend it. Although, if it's a big game, I don't know, that might be tough. I find myself joking around and talking, and maybe I'm not coaching as.
Yeah, I think for the big games, you want to get in your bunker, concentrate, put the kids to bed, and just tell the wife that you're busy that night, and move on to putting together your best game plan.
There you go. But it's a lot of fun. We should post that in the forum. Maybe some guys will do that. You don't have to do it, but it's a lot of fun. And the game does take a little longer, but it's more social. And I think a lot of us play this game for the social aspects as well. We love the competition and the football, but there's also a social component.
Yeah, I think it could be a nice way to augment the enjoyment we get from Strat, and I think it would be something worth trying. I mean, it is. I think it's been around for a little bit, but the technology is finally pretty solid, where you can, have a game and not worry about having additional technical problems with connections, and just have some fun. I mean, it's not life or death. This is, in the end, a hobby that is supposed to be fun. So if you lose and you wind up kicking your cat or making your kids hide under their bed because you're screaming so much, take a chill pill. It's just a game.
No, I would say you're doing it right. You need to win. Make those kids cower under their sheets at night because you missed a field goal in the last 30 seconds, and now you're 6-6 instead of 7-5.
Okay, so we don't want to spend too much time on each game. Let's do these quick hitters.
Sure.
What do you see?
Almost done with the Titans, which is we 1/4 done with the show then. Anyway, 5-5-6 on the line. 6-5-5-5 at linebacker with 2 good blitzers. Vontae Davis, the corner 6, who is going against Ed's inferior receiver. The Clement against Gronkowski, that's a 5 matchup. Right corner Stephon Gilmore is the 4 against Demaryius Thomas. So that's a bit of a problem for Tennessee, that he's got to pay a lot of attention to Demaryius Thomas, which will make it easier for Ed to throw to Gronk and to run the ball and stuff like that. But ratings-wise, this matchup is all Tennessee. So I'm going to predict. Look, we're never surprised when NFL Ed wins and upsets somebody and does real well. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the result again. I would be surprised, I guess, because John has done a great job. I'm going to go with closer than expected game. I'm going to go Tennessee 24. San Francisco 16.
All right. I will again go with the upset because I need to round. So I'm going to say Ed's going to pull up an upset here.
Okay.
I don't mind. It's for fun. So I think Ed's going to.
I thought we had $100.
I looked at. Yeah.
I think I'm up 200 right now. No?
Well, let me get back to you on that.
Oh, okay.
In that case. I'm going to cut my losses. No, I'm going to predict a 24-21 victory for Ed in overtime.
in overtime. All right, now let's move on to the
Yeah.
second game on our slate. A game that involves one of our co-hosts. Actually, two of these games involve our co-hosts, and what we're going to do is, for Dennis's game, I'm going to do the analysis, and he can chime in at some point if he wants to. And for the game I'm involved in, Dennis will do the analysis. We will not make predictions on our own game because that just seems crazy. So I'll start us off with the Buffalo Bills, who were 10-6 in the regular season, the defending champions. Fresh off a wild card win, they were the number 7 seed against the number 2 seed, Seattle Seahawks. Now,
507 points scored. That's a ton of points that he put up.
Yeah, I note that Dennis says that while overlooking that he also scored 500 points. So so Buffalo scored 507 points, were plus 100. They did allow 407 points, which I think was about 8th worst in the league. I think I looked at this last time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, something like 7th or 8th worst in the league. That's a team that's really powered by Adrian Peterson. Had a huge year, over 2,500 yards rushing, like a 6.3 average. We all know that in a lot of these leagues, the running backs go for big numbers because the defenses are playing pass so much. Jay Cutler had a decent year. When I played this team recently, a lot of West Coast offense, a lot of flat passes. I kind of forced him to take shots down the field because I was basically my free safety was living in flat pass, but I have corner sixes. I did get a couple of picks out of Jay Cutler, which is always nice, including one that was returned 103 yards for a touchdown by Darrelle Revis. That's a New York Jet SOMIFA franchise record, by the way. Yes, I keep franchise records. I started it a couple of years ago. I'm very proud of it. So the Bills, interesting group. I want to look at that defense a little bit. They gave up so many points. I wonder how many of those were after turnovers. So bear with me, folks. League manager likes to click slowly. Good, Dennis.
No, I was going to say that we did play early this year, Buffalo and myself, and it was looking like a loss for me until a long touchdown pass from Russell Wilson to Julius Thomas with about a minute left salvaged the victory for me. It was 28-27. Buffalo had more first downs, 24 first downs for them to 19 for me. They converted 50% on third down. That's a nice number for a Jay Cutler-led team. Obviously, a lot of those were probably third and shorts with Adrian Peterson. And the yardage was pretty similar. The interceptions, both Wilson and Cutler threw 2 picks. There were no fumbles in the game. It was just a good, close game going back and forth. Peterson ran for 128. Lynch ran for 164. So I know we were not supposed to talk too much about our own games, but I think this is going to be another close game. Both teams have powerhouse teams. Tom will break that down in a little bit. But are you ready for you were looking at how Buffalo managed to give up 400 points. Did you figure out that mystery?
Well, I was going to say we're allowed to talk about our own games. We just didn't want to put ourselves on the spot. But anyway, what I was looking at here is I click on Buffalo's computer file. What a great offensive line this guy has. He's got 4 sevens and then a 5-5 at right tackle. And these guys can all block. 3 of them are 6s and 2 of them are 5s. He's even got a blocking back 6. Now, when I played this team, he went West Coast on me. And based upon his stats, that looks like it's what he likes to do. That could possibly explain why Cutler and crew were converting on 50% of their third downs against you. You get a lot of 3rd and 2s and 3s and 4s, and you're going to do a lot better than you are in the longer situations. Yep. Although dump-offs can help him as well. Randall Cobb at the 1 receiver position. Larry Fitzgerald, not a vintage Larry Fitzgerald by any stretch of the imagination. Maxed out flat and short, I believe, and not much going on deep, either with yardage or completions. Ben Watson, a bit of an afterthought. On the stats, I know he threw a lot of passes to. I actually did throw to Watson. Peterson and Sherman looks like almost exclusively flat. So that's something to watch out for. Now this team plays. I clicked on it and then I clicked off at a 4-3.
Yeah,
I find that the league
across the front.
Yeah, I recall this team having a lot of superstar names and stuff on the front four. You got Jared Allen, Kyle Williams, Marcel Darius, and DeMarcus Ware. You got 5'6", 5'5" on that front four. You got 5'6'4" at linebacker. So that front seven is the strength of the team. But look at that secondary. All the short pass defenders are a 4. The free safety is a 6. We know Russell Wilson's got a pretty good short pass card, and if you've got
But
the pass blocking.
his pass rush nullifies that a little bit. So if you're not careful and you're just throwing short pass after short pass, you're going to get sacked, and suddenly it's second and 17, and it's a lot harder to move the chains.
Absolutely. What does your offensive line look like there, Dennis?
I have a lot of 4-5 types. I have 6, 5s and 7s on the line, but not a great run blocking line. I go 5-7, 4-7, 4-5, 4-5, 5-7. So the tackles are 7s, which helps. And my blocking back is Michael Robinson, who's a 5-4. So he'll soak up a little bit of that asterisk pass rush from his defensive end. But
yeah, it's interesting when you go against these guys who are like an asterisk 1, and it seems like there's a lot of, well, I shouldn't say there are a lot of them because there are not a lot of asterisks in any set, but it seems like the asterisks that are out there, most of them are 1, and you can pretty much eliminate them with just about any blocking back that you put out there. But it does force you to use a blocking back a lot of times. If the running back is a 0-0, there don't seem to be as many of those as there used to be.
I typically like to run a 2 tight end set with this team, with Heath Miller opposite as the second tight end. But I'm not going to be able to do that as much because of that star 1. Because if that comes up and I'm in a 2 tight end set, that's a sack. So it's something I have to watch out for.
So under the rule in that formation, if you don't throw to Lynch does not become your blocking back?
I'm not sure if that works that way. It's
some of these rules got changed in like the last 10, 15 years, and
I'm almost positive
the blocking assignments. But you might be right about that because I think I've experienced that, unfortunately. But I'm looking at this Seattle offense and this Seattle team. I can see where Dennis would be a little nervous, despite the advantage in the standings. Dennis was 13-3, and Scott was 10-6, and despite the plus 200 point differential to roughly plus 100 point differential, because personnel-wise, you can make a case that maybe Buffalo even has better personnel than the Seahawks. Let's take a look. You said you would or would not?
I would. I mean, it's very close. The teams are close. They both have talent, but
I think on the defensive side of the ball, I like Seattle's defense better because they're better at every unit. They only have 2 total 4s. Look, that Buffalo short pass crew going 4-4-4 across, and then you got a 4 at right linebacker. But that short pass crew, that's a real weakness. And Buffalo always has to be aware of that and defend that. And Dennis's offensive line here, so you can't always go just by the numbers. It's where they are. You look at Dennis's defense, and you've got a 4 at linebacker, and you got a 4 at corner. But at least it's split into 2 different units, and it's only 1 guy each. He's got a corner 5 and a strong safety 6. He can double that 4 more easily. If Buffalo wants to start doubling receivers with their free safety from a 4-3 defense, number 1, you're going to be able to throw flat passes against 1 linebacker, and number 2, you're going to be able to get some long pass shots against a 4 with no men if you want, or certainly short pass 3 men against a 4, and he may just be maybe more inclined to have to call pass because his short pass crew is so weak. So,
and it's not just that. He'll also call pass because if it lands on the D card with all the 5s and 6s he has up front, that's not going to go for much yardage. Where he can so it has to land on Lynch's card in order to be effective if I'm running the ball against his pass calls.
That's true. Now I do like that you've got that 7 right tackle against Jared Allen. And then Marcel Darius, no, it's Kyle Williams, I think, is left tackle. That's a problem. Yeah, Craig Urbich's a 5 and Darius is an 11. So you want to try to avoid that matchup coming up on the old white die. But you got 3 7s out there. I think, look, Marshawn Lynch has got an excellent running card, one of the few best in the set. He can move the chains with that card. I don't think you can let that card run on wrong all day, even if you got 6s and 5s in the defensive line. I think that you're going to hit some nice short passes with Russell Wilson. I think you're going to get some good must runs with Russell Wilson. Maybe you get a receiver reading to Josh Gordon, and you got Josh Gordon. Look, you got Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, and you got Josh Gordon covered by a 4. You're going to play a little bit of the guess wrong game there. He's going to worry about both of those things. It's going to open up other plays for you. So I like that. Now looking at the other side of it, let's look at the Buffalo offense against the Seahawks defense. Seattle goes 5-6, 5-6 on the defensive line, and they got some pass rush of their own with Justin Tuckson 11 at left end, Greg Hardy at 12 with a 4 asterisk at right end. But Buffalo's got great pass blocking. I think his right tackle's only a 5. So if Justin Tuck comes up, that's one favorable matchup for the Seahawks. But that 5-6, 5-6 front 4 looks very strong to me. 4-5-5 linebackers, that's not bad. 5-4 at corner, but 6-5 at safety. So you got a 5-6-4 short pass crew and a 5 for the free safety. I like Seattle's ability here to slow down Adrian Peterson just by guessing run and leaving their 4 guys there. They don't have to vacate zones. You get a guess right call with AP against this front 4 on a regular basis. That's a pretty good matchup for the Seahawks, so they don't have to worry about leaving the flats open. You are going to see them bring the free safety up to help the 4 at times. I think that they'll guess pass when they do that because they don't want to leave Ike Taylor on an island against that split end, whoever he is. I think it's Randall Cobb. That's one thing with Jay Cutler. He throws the picks, but you don't really want to. But he also has long pass completions, so you don't want to tempt him with too many long pass zeros against a 4, I think.
Right, but you do have to call run, so he will get a chance on that long pass card to try to hit some big plays.
Yeah, but if you leave your guy back there, it's not too bad. And another thing to consider: the Seahawks at 13-3, of course, number 2 seed have got the home field, so they have the good pass defense cards in SOMIFA. In the regular season, we play average with the draft league defensive cards. In the playoffs, the home team gets a good defensive pass card that's got a slightly higher interception. So that should play into Dennis's favor. Now, before I make my prediction, Dennis, do you have anything else you'd like to say about the Buffalo Bills Seattle Seahawks matchup?
Like I said, it's going to be a close game. I expect it to be similar to our first game, where it comes down to the last drive and see who can come up with that big play at the end to take it home.
Well, I'm going to make my prediction. I think that the Buffalo offense is going to struggle in this game. I think Adrian Peterson might get a couple of long runs, as he is wont to do, but I think Dennis will do a nice job minimizing the damage. I think if Buffalo tries to go West Coast and dink and dunk, they're not going to get all the way down the field enough often to score a lot of points. I think if they try and air it out and go deep, they'll be susceptible to the pick-off from Mr. Cutler, and I think the story of the game on that side of the ball is going to be Buffalo's inability to get into the end zone. On the other side, I think Dennis is a real good offensive coach. You see what he's done. Look, whenever you have a real good running card and a decent quarterback card and a great receiver covered by a 4, you're in good shape. So I'm going to go with maybe some frustration for Seattle early on. Maybe you got to settle for more field goals than they like. I'm going to go Seahawks 26, Buffalo 17.
Okay. Well, I'm going to rethink my thought about not making predictions on our own games, and I will predict the score to be exactly the same as it was the first time, 28-27 Seattle. So, no offense, Scott. I think that you actually have a very good chance to win the game, and I could see it being a blowout in either direction, honestly, if the dice go south for one of us. But it should be a fun game, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, what if the dice go north? Someone is doing really well, and the dice are going north for him.
Well, if they go north for one, that means they're going south for somebody else. So
I have to check my geography. That doesn't sound right to me.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Indeed.
So. All right, so let's go on to the next game. We got. Is this your game next? Let's look at the standings.
Why? As a matter of fact, it is my game next.
Aha. Well, no, actually, Minnesota-Dallas first. Minnesota-Dallas first.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, Minnesota-Dallas is listed
I want to
third.
do mine. I'm all pumped up now to do mine.
You want to do yours? Okay, let's do yours.
Yeah, do
New
mine.
York Jets at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Jets, Jets.
Now these two teams did not meet in the regular season, unfortunately. But as Tom is wont to do, he laments the fact that when he plays good teams, he rarely, if ever, is able to come away with a victory, and he allows a lot of points. Now, why does he allow a lot of points? Let's look at those New York Jets. The big problem for the Jets is that I don't think Tom was really thinking he was going to compete this year. So he is happy to have a defensive front that's 4-8, 4-0, 4-0, and 0-7. That is the direct opposite of the defensive lines we just covered in Buffalo and Seattle. So Ezekiel Ants is obviously their impact player, and he's going to have a great card next year and look for him to have a 6. But in these playoffs, he's going to have to carry the load, and that's going to be a heavy load. At linebacker,
hold on. The guy's a 4-8, and he's going to carry the load. Jeez.
That is the problem. That is the problem on defense. And at linebacker, it's 5-0 for DeAndre Levy, Pat Anger 4-4, and Barkevious Mingo 0-8. So you have 2 zeros and 4 4s in the front 7. Let me repeat that. He only has 1 5 in the front 7. Everybody else is a 4 or a 0. How in the world did you go 10-6 with this team with a negative point differential, 389 to 403? It has to be the coaching. Tom also alluded already that he has 2 6s at corner, Revis and Hayden, probably the best corners in the league, with Mark Barron and at one safety position, a 4, and then a 0 at a free safety, which in Strat, a 0 at free safety, that's where you want your 0. You can double team with him, you can blitz with him. He's not really hurting you by being a 0. Matter of fact, if you use the 6 to double team or a 6 to blitz, you're getting the exact same effect that you get from blitzing or double teaming with a 0. So that's where you want to have one if you have to.
What's nice about doing it on this team is they've got corner 6s and even a right linebacker 5. So I'm almost better off moving that free safety out of there and letting him throw deep at the corner 6s and letting him maybe double the tight end or come up and help some of these anemic flat pass defenders.
Yeah, and if you're facing somebody who has a fullback that can catch, or he goes into a 2 tight end set so that you're facing the halfback with that 0 outside linebacker, that's another guy that you can bring the 0 free safety down to help double team with. So
Indeed.
Yes, but again, that's still problematic. You're doing all that double teaming and moving, but guess what? The guy's running draws up the gut against your 4s or in run against your 0. So there are some issues that have to be contended with this defense.
I have 7 starters who are a 0 or a 4.
That is incredible to come up with that configuration.
And my defensive line is 4-4-4-0.
Now, this might be a good time to bring up the fact that in the future, I would love to see Ed implement this revolutionary idea, and that is when you get to the round of 8, or the 8 teams left in the playoffs, conduct a draft where the number 1 seed gets to choose his opponent. He can choose any other team. He can choose the 3 seed. He can choose the 4 seed. He can choose the 2nd seed if he wants. And then the next highest seed that hasn't been chosen then gets to choose his opponent. So if that would happen, then you can kind of choose people based on their team.
I'd be a first round pick.
How you match up with them as a coach, based on friendship. If I wanted to say, hey, I'm playing Tom in this next round, boom, you got him. And then Tom would come back, oh, you wanted me, huh? And then come up with one heck of a game plan and kick my butt. But I think that would add a nice twist to the playoffs.
You know what I don't like about your suggestion?
Tell me.
It's crazy enough that Ed might go for it.
I doubt it. He's very conservative, but he's
very conservative. We have no divisions. We have one 24-team league. That is crazy.
I'm putting this suggestion in for my Battle Royale league. I want to see how it goes. I think it adds a nice little twist to when playoffs come around, because you're not. The other thing it removes is oh my God. I always play my games quickly in the quarter. But if I would have waited.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Some guys try and cherry pick.
Oh my God, I lost that last game, so Zeb has to play Buffalo, and I get to play a different team. But at this stage, all teams are going to be tough when you're at this round in the playoff. but why not allow the top seeds to get rewarded by allowing them to pick their playoff opponents? I
What
think
about
it's something to think about.
what about in the semifinals? Would you do it in the semifinals also?
Yeah, I do it all the way through the playoffs. So even the first round. So you have those,
Except
you
of
know, you have
course, the Super Bowl.
yes, you're still doing it, but you're stuck with one person to choose from. So
Oh, okay.
just something to think about. I've seen this done in fantasy football leagues, and I think it adds a nice little layer of intrigue. But I think it
I
would
tell
be
you
something.
what. I tell you what. You pick me. Oh, I'm gonna have a chip on my shoulder, boy.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It adds
I'm
like a
gonna,
little
I know,
juice.
it's gonna create some bad blood.
That's good. That's okay. Why not? What's wrong with
Why
that? You're
not?
not gonna.
Bad
And
blood's not good for the league.
I don't think it's bad blood. I think it's just grudge. You got some
Look,
grudge matches.
we all play in all these draft football leagues, and we're supposed to pretend like we all like each other, so that even when so that when you beat the guy 31-17 in the playoffs, and it's his only good team for the next 4 years, like, hey, good game, man.
There was a time when I
It's,
wanted everybody to like me, but now I could give a rat's butt. I mean, I'm being nice. I'll still be nice. I'll help you with your port forwarding. I'll give you any
a
advice,
rat.
talk trade. I love that. But I realized at some point that not everybody's going to like you. So
A rat's butt.
yes,
You still. I sounds like you still would like you.
we're after 11. Okay, I could give
You
a
don't
rat's
want
ass.
to. You don't want to offend anybody by saying a rat's ass. I guess. Okay.
I can say a rat's ass. We cuss on the
Bar-
left coast too. So
Barcavius Mingo.
yeah, the Minger. So what do you want to say about Barcavius?
Nothing. I just felt like saying his name because I'm looking at my defense. Pat Angerer, by the way, led the SOMIFA in tackles this year.
That means everybody was running up the gut on you. I hate to break it to you.
I
So
think it means that Pat Angerer is an outstanding football player.
he's not going to the Pro Bowl. He's not awarded an
Going to
All-Pro.
he had the second most tackles in New York Jets SOMIFA history.
If we rewarded ratings based on tackles or stats from the previous year, I might make him a 6 next year because he did a lot of work.
Well, the guy led my team in tackles. Obviously, I think I can look forward to many productive years of him going forward, right?
I'm afraid I hate to break it to you, but he's actually out of the league. So
Yes, I am aware that he retired, unfortunately. But
yeah,
but what a way to go out!
yeah, absolutely. If you get him get him a playoff victory. That'll really make him happy.
All right, now you're looking at my defense. Oh, go good. You're analyzing. Analyze away.
Okay, so now let's look at the strength of the New York Jets. Andrew
J
the Giant
E
Luck.
Yes, Jets.
Yeah, Andrew the Giant Luck. Andrew, you are carrying this team. He's had a great year, having to deal with really not having a super strong running game in Reggie Bush. If you look at the stats for the Jets, Tom was able to keep Luck down to 13 interceptions, which is, I'd have to say that's probably in the top 10 of lowest picks for quarterbacks to start of the entire season. A high completion percentage of 59%. That, you're laughing. That doesn't sound high, but in these types of draft leagues, that is a high completion percentage. Reggie Bush, who I said wasn't a strong component, he ran for over 1,000 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, and Luck has a nice running card as well. So he finished with 372 yards rushing, a 5.6 yards per carry average, and Kyrie Robinson, sneaky little, can run. Is he unlimited in one half, or is he just a third down guy?
Kyrie is unlimited in one half, but he doesn't like the big spotlight. If the game is so close, he tends to lose 1/3 of his rolls to 4 yards of carry or whatever the hell that he is subject to the low carry running back rule.
But even with that, he ran for 171 yards, 4.4 yards per carry average. So he also did not fumble. The turnovers for the Jets really didn't help them that much. They fumbled the ball 15 times, lost 8.
You'll find as you look, Dennis, that most statistical categories did not favor the Jets this year.
But somehow, despite that, you were able to win 10 games. Yeah, the first downs against favor the opponent. The third down efficiency favors the opponent. The fourth down efficiency favors the opponent. The red zone efficiency favors Tom. So when you did get down deep, you cashed it in. Yards favors the opponent. like Don says, all the way across. But that shows that your spreadsheets are working. Tom crunches the numbers. He has spreadsheets ready at his disposal for his situation.
Wait a minute.
And
If my spreadsheets were working, shouldn't I be doing better in all these categories?
if you had a better team, you would. But it's working at crunch time. When you need to make a key call, that's when you bring in Wally to help you decide which play to run, and it's working. It's doing good. Shifting over to Tampa, your opponent in this round.
Let me just add one thing real quick.
Okay.
About Andrew Luck. You mentioned that his stats were pretty good for a SOMIFA quarterback, completing 60%, because 59.9. Now with 23 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Did you notice the passing attempts compared to the rushing attempts for the New York Jets this year?
Let me look at that. I'm cranking up the league leaders to see where Luck landed in terms of completion percentage and quarterback.
No, just look at the team stats thing.
I know, but my computer was busy creating a report for me. So the team stats is ready to look. We have the Jets. So you wanted me to check out.
All right, I'll just tell you because this is taking too long. Yeah, as a team, because Michael Vick had 8 attempts in one game, ill-fated game against the Rams. Andrew Luck my team had 566 passing attempts. And and 350.
I'm trying to keep that on the down low. You're passing twice as much as you run.
Yes, and 350 rushing attempts. Not quite twice as much, but
might as well, because you can take some of those Luck runs out. I'm sure there are must runs on his card. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
So
he probably
pass.
Yeah, I was passing. Yeah. Well, then if you add in the sacks, then I got 593 attempts, and you want to give me maybe half of Luck's carries as must runs, then I would be throwing twice as much as I passed.
Yep.
Which is Strat is supposed to be.
That's we think, look at that. Oh man, that's Strat ball. No, it's not. Look at the NFL. Look what the Patriots did last week against the Ravens. If you can't run the ball, might as well throw it. So.
But here's where you're supposed to fail miserably in Strat if you do that. In Strat, it's very difficult to throw the ball as much as my team threw the ball and have any kind of success. You know what I'm saying? Because and it's because I don't have a true ground threat really. But maybe I'll reveal my secret one day. But
Bush does the job. The fact that with all those passing attempts, you only wound up with 13 interceptions. That's really the story that you want to tell. I mean, that's a 2.3 interception percentage in a draft league where people are double teaming like crazy. That's damn good. Even the mighty Russell Wilson was a 2.8 interception percentage. So.
Yeah, but he's short. You can't see over the lineman, and the defense comes in. Andrew's tall and mighty, and he has an ogre-like face.
Scares people off.
Scares off the defensive backs.
We actually compliment him when he gets hit hard by the defensive lineman, so I like that.
I read that story. They don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, they're like,
good hit, man. Good hit. Yeah, way to play. And,
that was the hardest hit I've had in a week. Thank them. That's a great job. Okay, coming again. But maybe I won't hit you quite as hard because you're freaking me out.
I would love it if the Colts somehow played a really good competitive game against the Patriots this weekend, but I'm afraid that's not in the offing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I kind of think the Colts have a we said before. I think the Colts are a good team. I think they will give the Patriots trouble, and I'm predicting them to win this week. That sounds crazy, but I think that could happen. It's going to be a close game, but I think the Colts could pull it out. And wouldn't that be something?
So apparently your poor predictions are not restricted just to the playoffs.
Wouldn't that be cool? Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck. That would be an awesome Super Bowl. I would really like that.
The Colts are not a good team.
Okay, well, we're diverging. We're diverging. We'll find out about that later. The Tampa Bay Bucks. Tony Romo, that's where I was leaving off. He has had a very solid season, whereas you're passing almost twice as much as you're running. Tim has an almost 50-50 split between Romo and his running game. Romo threw the ball. That's how you want to coach. You want to keep the people off balance. You want to mix in the run and pass. At least that's by the book. That may not be what the spreadsheets say, but if you have the personnel, I think it's a good plan. You got Romo threw for 59% completion percentage, 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He was sacked only 25 times, so I'm guessing right now that Romo has a pretty strong offensive line in front of him. I'm going to look at that in a second. But LaShawn McCoy is the weapon of choice for the Bucks. He ran the ball nearly 400 times. Man, 392 runs, 2,100 yards, 16 touchdowns. And on top of that, he caught the ball 73 times for 654 yards. So he was involved in almost half of all the Bucks offensive plays. That's a workhorse right there. His other receivers, Vernon Davis, Antonio Brown, and Victor Cruz, are all solid. He uses Marcedes Lewis as a two tight end set. So he spread the ball around good. I mean, none of those guys. He had 69, 53, 43, 39, and 73 for his top 5 receivers. That's balanced. So he spreads it around. His kicker, Josh Brown, on 100% on the season. Let's look at that offensive line now. Let me pull up his computer manager, and then we'll dig into his defense. But his offensive line, as I predicted, has 3 sevens, a 6-7, 5-7, and a 4-7. On the right side, he has 2 4s, 4-4, and a 4-3. So that right tackle is susceptible to a pass rush, as well as the right guard. If you bring a free safety blitz, that's the one that's going to go up against the right guard, I believe.
No. I play a 4-3.
Oh, shoot. So
but also free safety blitz is always the blocking back.
Oh, right. So how are you going to trigger that 4-3? That's going to be like your second high linebacker.
No, well, if I'm in a 4-man line, it's defensive left tackle 4-0 Roy Miller.
Oh, that's not good. Do you have a backup?
I think Sylvester. I think Sylvester Williams is a 0-2.
Yeah,
so if I pop in there and get a blitz, I get a 3-4. That was like 2-4 and 11-12 on the old chart, but anyway.
Yeah. So you're going to have trouble generating pressure against this line. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. I had 19 sacks on the year.
That's not good.
And I would wager that a lot of those were must runs for no yards.
Yeah. Okay. So my advice is to call run no matter what situation, just to avoid the dump off. No, if you know a D's coming, then call run. So that's pretty strong offense. His defense on the other side, he has some holes for a change. It's not like your normal what you expect from.
This is not a typical Tim Bowyer team. This is an explosive offense. This is a really good offensive team with a shaky defense.
Yeah, and shaky might be too strong a word. He does have 6 5s on the defense, but there's no 6s. The rest of them are 4s except for 1-0 left linebacker Garrett McIntyre is the 0 that's forced to play. He's not going to generate a ton of pass rush, although he does have OCU Minor to bring in as a 0-8 to replace Derek Wolfe. So his pass rush, when he's in a 3-3-5, it would be a 5-6, a 4-4, and a 4-5. Now, if you're in shotgun, it goes down, or 0-8. When you're in shotgun, it goes down even more. If you're in a 3-down line, it goes down 1. So your worst case scenario is the free safety blitz coming in and putting pressure on you. But besides that, he's not going to sack you a lot either. His corners are 2 5s to go up against your 2 6s. He has a 5-strong safety. So most of the receivers will be covered by 5s, except for your halfback and you go 2 tight ends. So your second tight end and your halfback will be covered by a 4 and a 0. So that's a weakness that you can exploit. But you can bet his free safety is a 4, and he'll be moving around quite a bit. So you might have to hope for maybe some deep passes, getting that 6 white die against one of his 5s. But it's going to be tough to hit deep passes with luck against that D. Your receivers.
Well, I can tell you that a short pass 3 men with a quarterback like Luck to a maxed out receiver, and Julio Jones is a good play for the offense.
Yeah. So if he doesn't
And
help the
this
five out,
linebacker crew 0-4-4. Oh my,
yes, that's some juicy flats to be shooting at.
that's actually
Um,
worse than mine. I
you know,
score worse linebackers than I do. I had 0-4-5.
yeah,
That's my one
there's
advantage. My one
yes.
advantage is my linebackers are one number better in total.
So really, you have two really good offenses. His is extremely good.
Yeah, his is really
Going
good.
against two shaky defenses.
Well, one of the problem with his team, when you look at that offense, is he has got 4 great receiving targets.
Yes.
Antonio Brown, Victor Cruz, Vernon Davis, and LaShawn McCoy is a running back.
Yeah.
I think Victor Cruz
Cruz,
is maxed out short pass this year, isn't he?
but he's not a vintage Victor Cruz card. It's one of his weaker cards. He is max guess wrong short, and he has actually it is a pretty good card, pretty damn good card. Actually, looking at it closer.
He's got to have at least 18 on the bomb, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
What's he got on the bomb? Is he 20?
Is it 5? Yes. So he guess right or guess wrong.
Yeah, he's 12-18 on the bomb. Okay.
Yeah, 12-18, and he has a long gain on 9. Guessed right or wrong on his receiving card with that plus 70 and a plus 51 lingering at the edges of both the short and long pass card. So
all 3 of those guys are maxed out short pass.
And plus you have to call run a little more because of LaShawn McCoy.
He's got a great card.
Yeah, fantastic card, best card in your set. So it's going to be really tough to stop. It's going to take everything.
And then Romo is, of course, is got great stats. I mean, it's interesting because I see. I look at his offense and you look at my defense, and it's like, how do I hold that team under 38 points? I think I can do a lot of things against his defense, but it's almost like an impossible. Yeah, but he can do. It's almost impossible for me to stop him. You're going to need some snap fumbles.
You're going to need to score on almost every down or every possession, and you're going to need to be a little bit more aggressive. Yeah, you're going to need to be more aggressive on 4th downs. One guy to keep in mind on his team is Robert Turbin, who doesn't seem like he has a great card, but when he goes full house, he's pretty decent guessed right. So if you key McCoy and guess wrong, he even gets yardage on a 5 guessed wrong. So be careful with that. It's going to be a good matchup. I think you're going to be hard pressed to stay with him. So prediction time, I'm going to say that you're going to give it a valiant effort, but come up just a tad short. I would say 28-20 for the Bucks as far as the prediction goes.
28-20. That's going to be the score at halftime. Have you seen these defenses?
Okay. 38-30. I'm gonna boost you by 10. You're right. All
right. I'll do a prediction also since you predicted your game, and since I'm going to predict myself to lose anyway. I would feel uncomfortable predicting myself to win against almost anybody. Plus, I'd feel like I was jinxing myself. So I'm going to go with. I'll do well offensively, but I can't keep up with Tim. I'm going to go with. 40-27, Tampa Bay.
Okay, I think it's going to be closer than that. I think you're going to be able to, like you said, you're going to be able to do some things, and you might see some funny stuff. You never know what playoff comes. Special teams touchdowns, some fumbles on punts. Just it's a wide open range of strange things can happen. But good stuff.
I think he's got better return guys. Hold on. Antonio Brown's got a touchdown and then a plus 22 on 5. His kick returners aren't that great. LaMichael James is a pretty good kick returner for me. My punt returner is, I don't remember, but I don't think it's anybody that good. Oh, it's also LaMichael James. He's kind of like a fair catch machine. But all right.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Tim has Mercedes Lewis, who I traded to him in the offseason.
Well, hopefully
long time jet.
Yeah. Hopefully, you got a decent return on that. But he's using him quite a bit, so he's.
Yeah, I think I got a 5th round pick, which I was happy with.
Sounds good. All right, let's move on to our last game. It is the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Minnesota Vikings. So you want to start off by looking at one of these teams, and I'll check out the other one.
Yeah, let me bring up their stats.
Dallas, of course, used their 1st round pick on a one-year QB, Josh McCown. Of course, at the time we didn't know he was a one-year QB, and he still might resurface. But that was
Yeah.
definitely uh, Zeb had a super strong team, except for a shaky quarterback situation. Although long-term Cam Newton should be a pretty good Strat quarterback if he continues to improve and they give him some more weapons. But McCown had a very strong year for Zeb, and I think he might have led the league in completion percentage. Who do you want to look at first? Do you want me to take Dallas and you take Minnesota?
I'll take Minnesota, and we'll start. Well, we've been starting with the road team, so I guess we'll start with the Vikings. The Vikings went 10-6 on the regular season. That's Dale, right? That's that guy's name,
Correct.
Dale.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Either his second or third year in the league. I don't remember. I remember he made the big deal with Nathan to get Peyton Manning before, not this season, but before last season.
For a
That was
very
when
reasonable price.
it was a fairly. It was like Jake Long and like a second round pick or something like that,
Right.
which was a reasonable price. We didn't know
But
how
at
long
that
Peyton.
time, to be fair, at that time, we didn't know if Peyton was even going to play again or was going to play for more than that one season. His neck injury was always lingering there. So I think that was made before he had started as a member of the Broncos, if I'm right.
I think it was after his first year on the Broncos. I think because he's finishing his third year
Okay.
with the Broncos. So it was after
Yeah.
his first year with the Broncos, but it was before the 55 touchdown year.
Right.
So he looked good and solid, but maybe he'll play another year and then be done. You didn't know he was going to have the 55-yard touchdown year. But the bottom line, it was a fair trade, I think, for Nathan as well because of Manning's age. I mean, look, Manning looks like he might be done right now. Okay, so you get Jake Long at number 2. That's not bad. Now that was interesting at that time because Nathan had Cam Newton, who had just drafted number 1 overall the year before, and
right.
Peyton Manning, but he also had the number 2 pick in the draft, and
So
he
he
was going to
traded
get
both those guys.
RG3. So he traded away Newton and Manning and drafted RG3, and wouldn't you know it, that RG3 is now struggling, and is probably, if you had to line those 3 guys up, RG3 is going to be the last guy on that list you want, although long term, of course, Manning is not going to be around much longer.
And
Um,
with the regime change in Washington, RG3 could still resurface as a viable long-term quarterback. But his injury history has scared off even his most ardent supporters. So
yeah, and remember, they have the same coach that they had last year, so he's not getting a new coaching system, and that
but
relationship.
a new offensive coordinator, maybe a new scheme, maybe somebody who actually believes in him.
Is it a new offensive coordinator? And even if it is, I assume that Jay Gruden is an offensive side of the ball guy, and he's calling the shots there. But anyway, we are getting off the point. But Nathan, look, Nathan knows what he's doing and is a really good GM and coach. So I don't worry too much about his team struggling or something like that. I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll be fine in no time. So, but Dale was interesting. I think last year he only went like 8-8 perhaps, and flirted with the playoffs. And that really was not a very good team, I don't think. And this year, I think I predicted him to make the playoffs based upon what I viewed as strong coaching last year, and the team was better this year. And sure enough, he made it. He went 10-6. He was actually one of. Hold on a second here. 1, 2, 3. He was one of 3 teams to make the playoffs despite being outscored in the regular season. He was outscored.
Yeah.
He was outscored by 36 points. Went 10-6. Let's see. Does he have any victories against winning teams there? Let's take a look down his regular season. Yes, he does. He beat the Seattle Seahawks.
He did.
37-34. Let's see, which is a big victory for his team. Beat the Buffalo Bills 27-24. Beat the Houston Texans 23-13. Then amongst his losses, lost to San Fran, lost to Dallas. This is a rematch. Lost to Dallas 39-11. In the regular season. So he's actually 3-2, it looks like, against winning teams, but that's unofficial because I just perused it very briefly.
Yeah, Peyton Manning tore me up that game. He had a 142.4 quarterback rating. He had an 11 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, while Russell Wilson struggled that day. He actually moved the ball well, but he threw 3 picks. So that was one of those, oh, man, outstatted him all the way, but I was always running uphill trying to catch up, and he was just holding me off with that big lead. So
Yeah, well,
So,
yeah. Well, it's funny,
mm,
like you mentioned earlier with the wild card game between the Niners and the Texans. A lot of times, if you get a big lead on a guy,
yeah, you don't care about
um,
the stats. You want
yeah,
to run.
then when the game ends, it looks like the other guy had all kinds of yardage, and you got lucky, but you've been letting him, take his time to march 80 yards for the whole second half. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
what
So
kind of,
that
what
wasn't.
kind of year did I noticed last season that Manning was very much a dink and dunk guy for Minnesota, who I think tended to go four wide a lot. What kind of stats did he have this year? Let's take a look. Let's see. This team, the Vikings, he very much like the New York Jets. He threw the ball 581 times, only ran it 363 times. Manning completed 57% of his passes for 3,860 yards, 26 touchdowns. We can't all be Mike Lennon. 13 interceptions, which is good for all those attempts. Sacked only 24 times. A respectable 83 rating for SOMIFA. Frank Gore was a man on the ground, over 1,500 yards and a 4.7 average. Looks like Minnesota likes to go at least three wide and maybe four wide. I remember he did that last year, so it looks like he was running four wide because he's got 5 players with more than 3 receptions. Frank
Isn't
Gore.
that isn't that strange? Real quick, how our SOMIFA statistics you never get like a 100 catch guy. I mean, there's guys usually they get like 50 catches, 60 catches at the most. Having 3 guys with 70 catches is really unusual.
You never get it. You never get a 100 catch guy unless it's a running back, because
Yeah.
we have running backs catch like 130 passes. I don't know if they're dump offs or excessive flat passing. But yeah, it's very hard. I tell you what, it seems like it's rare you see a receiver, even one receiver with over 80 catches. Sometimes I think you see a bad team and they'll be like, screw it, I'm going to throw to my number one receiver and get him good stats because my team sucks anyway.
Right.
But on a good team, you'll rarely see I find a receiver with 80 catches. I've been in this league. Gosh, I've been in this league. This is my 12th year, and I only have a handful of 1,000-yard receiving seasons.
Wow.
I've like
Yeah,
three.
I rarely get them too.
I have like 3 or 4 1,000-yard receiving seasons, and Julio Jones, probably because you got double covering him in the second half, despite the fact that you'll blow me out. Julio Jones had a chance to get his 3rd straight 1,000-yard receiving for me, so it would have been every year of his track career, but it wasn't meant to be in the fourth quarter of the
You
season.
told me. I would have backed off.
I did tell you. I told you by voice. You're like, I got to try and win the game. I did tell you.
Oh, man, sorry about that.
Stop double teaming him. I'm trying to get to 1,000 yards. It was like 30-10, 7 minutes left.
Maybe I was just jealous that Josh Gordon, who had probably one of the best seasons I've ever had for a wide receiver, only wound up with 55 catches for 876 yards. So, a little envy, a little Roddy White envy.
Roddy White, Julio Jones.
Or Julio Jones, sorry.
Roddy White's washed up.
I know, one of those Atlanta wide receivers. Speaking of Atlanta wide receivers, one of Minnesota guys is Harry Douglas, I think.
And the other one is Roddy White. He's got 2. He's got this guy goes 4 wide exclusively. He's got
and he probably he sees everybody trying to double Roddy White, so he's throwing it to the other guys more often. Roddy has 20 less catches than the other guys.
Yep, Greg Jennings, Donnie Avery, Harry Douglas. None of these guys is a true number one receiver. I don't know. Is Roddy White maxed out anywhere this year? A short or long? Maybe short pass?
Yeah, he has a max short pass, I believe. Let me look at his thing.
Yeah, he's maxed out short. 22-30 short, 12-18 deep, 25-30 flat. So running back maxed out, but not receiver maxed out because you got the 27-32 guys.
Right, and Donnie Avery has one of those high yardage type cars with long gains here and there, and Greg Jennings is just Greg Jennings, typical Greg Jennings.
Now the 4 wide is really, look, the 3 or 4 wide, Strat does not seem conducive to those types of offenses. So kudos to Dale for not only using the offense, but doing a hell of a job with it, to get where you need to be to win 10 games and make the playoffs. And looking at the stats, it doesn't look like he was throwing flat all the time either.
Right. No, he has all 4 of those receivers have a long of 50 plus, and I can speak from experience that Harry Douglas scored a 51-yard touchdown against me, and 3 of those 4 have a long of exactly 51 yards. So if Dale's at the 49-yard line, his own 49,
look out.
Look out, he's going deep.
And three of those guys, all four of those guys averaged at least 10.8 yards a catch, with two of them over 13 yards a catch. So you know that he was not just dinking and dunking. I wonder if he was throwing a lot of. I wonder if he was going like either flat or deep. I almost feel like when you go 3 wide or 4 wide, why do you want to throw a short pass into that 4-man column? That goddamn 9 seems to come up so often.
Yeah, but remember, we're throwing against a 4-man average pass column, so you have an extra receiver reading in there. It's not as bad. It's not as devastating on the 9 with the interception split, as if you're throwing against a good pass defense. And he does have 2 5s, 2 7s for pass blocking. Although he does have his weaknesses, his right tackle Eric Fisher is a 4-3. So I'm sure that the sacks that he gave up were coming against from defensive ends coming against that 3 pass blocker.
Yeah, or against a 3-4, that left guard 5 is susceptible to some of those 12s that you're going to run into as well. So yeah, that's probably where the 2 guys would be coming at him. But I don't know. Maybe it's just my imagination, but it just seems like short pass 4-man.
Yeah.
That 9 comes up and you. It seems like you get the interception a lot more than you get the incompletion when it's 4 men. But I mean, even though it's 50-50 mathematically, but that's probably just my my imagination on Strat. Well, particularly in the red zone, I feel like if you throw a short pass like the 8-yard line, you seem to get intercepted more often than you should.
Yeah, a little confirmation bias there, but I think you're right. That is something you have to watch out for.
Yes, I confirm that I'm biased.
Let's move. Very good. Let's move it along just a little bit and look at Minnesota's defense. Got a couple of impact 6s there at outside linebacker. I'm just going to go over those.
Sure. Looking at the Vikings defense, they play a 4-3 front. You got a 5-5-5-4 on the defensive line with a little bit of pass rush from guys who are 2 5 pass rushers and a 6 pass rusher. And then Brian Robeson, the veteran right end, bringing a 10 pass rush. But the real lumber is coming from the outside linebackers. This linebacking group goes 6-4-6 with Robert Mathis, a 6-12-12 at right outside linebacker. Tamba Hali on the other side is a 6-12-3. Now, what's interesting with that is he only plays a 4-man front, so you can never get a second high linebacker reading. You can only get that when you go to your nickel 3-3-5. But he's got alternate 12s to throw at you, and that 6-12 is pretty scary.
Yeah, you almost don't want to blitz Hali if you're free safety blitzing from a 3-3-5 either, because you kind of want to stick with if the asterisk test comes up, you want it to be either the free safety or Mathis. You don't want to have suddenly instead of a 10 or a 12 asterisk, you're stuck with a 3, which is reduced to a 2 because he's in a shotgun or something like that. So.
Yeah, but you do get that. You do get
the second high linebacker.
Holly's 12 against a right guard. So depending on what that right guard is, you might be willing to take that chance. But it does seem almost unfair.
Yeah, I don't like that rule. I wish they'd switch that a little bit.
Now Minnesota, oh boy, short pass crew 4-4-4 with a free safety 5.
And a middle linebacker 4, which means he's probably moving that free safety up to help once in a while.
Yeah, so I bet you Dale does a lot of aggressive blitzing with at least one of these outside linebackers. Maybe tempts you to throw at that MLB 4. Maybe I pick up a sack with Robert Mathis on a flat pass. If he brings the free safety up, maybe he's going to blitz the house or at least blitz the outsides, thinking he might throw at the 4, but not at the 6s. He's got to do a lot of managing of those 4s in the short pass zone. So this is a defense that I think if he's not getting sacks, he could be in trouble.
Yeah, but he does pretty good. He had 32 sacks on the year. So he is bringing some heat, mixing up the free safety blitzes and the linebacker blitzes. But it's a good team. It's a solid team. It has its holes that you can kind of shoot for, especially in, like you said, the short pass defense. But let's look who they're playing. Minnesota is matched up against the mighty Dallas Cowboys, who finished 13-3 in the number 3 seed.
Number one in Number one in SOMIFA in fewest points allowed, 268 points allowed. Tennessee was number 2 at 269, and this team was plus 187 in point differential, whereas Minnesota was outscored. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, if you look at his stats, he's way over his opponents. 111 more first downs, 13% higher on third downs. He had a 47% third down percentage, successful third down efficiency percentage for the season. 47%. That's nuts. His fourth down percentage is nothing special, same as everybody else, around 50%.
All right, I'm pissed off.
How's that?
All right, Andrew Luck was putting up really good numbers for me in the first half of the season, and it looked like he was going to throw for 4,000 yards, which, look, we know how the modern NFL is, but Strat is still a game where it can be tough to put up, where it is tough to put up good passing stats. So 4,000 yards in SOMIFA, it's kind of like 4,000 yards used to be a long time ago. It's a good number. And goddamn Josh McCown hit 4,089 yards, and Luck came up short.
Yeah, McCown was second in the league in quarterback rating.
Josh McCown
led the league in completion percentage, 4,000 yards, a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, only 7 picks on the year, and that was with Fred Jackson as his running back. Fred Jackson's a solid running back, but it's not like he had LaShawn McCoy to draw those numbers in. That's good coaching. Wait
a minute. Fred Jackson has a hell of a running card
every
year.
But when you're yes, he does. But this one in particular is excellent. But when you're lining up, and he's a little limited. I mean, let me look at his card. I don't think he can run like 30 times a game.
No, he can't run 30 times a game. But you got Donald Brown also. Fred Jackson. I mean, he's yellow on linebacker, off tackle, end run, right and wrong.
Fantastic.
You know, he's
7 short game.
He's a move the chains guy. He's not going to get your 83-yard touchdown run, but
even with that, you wouldn't expect Josh McCown to have that good numbers. That is.
No, those are crazy numbers.
That's good coaching by Zeb, catching people off balance. He has one impact weapon in the receiving game, in my opinion, and that's Dez Bryant. After that, he's got guys like Julian Edelman, Chris Givens, Ryan Griffin, Dennis Pitta, Luke Wilson. Nobody that special. Besides Dez Bryant. Fred Jackson is an excellent receiver, so is Donald Brown. But let me look at his stats. How do those guys come out?
Donald Brown also has a good running card this year.
Yes. He ran for Fred Jackson ran for 1,400 yards, averaged 5.1 yards per carry. Donald Brown averaged 4.8 yards per carry. Even a guy like Pierre Thomas, who he probably brings in only when he's blowing people out, was able to, tack on another 168 rushing yards. But his receiving stats, very well balanced again. 65, 63, 55, 47, 44. So he's spreading the ball around. He's not throwing it and forcing it into Zeb or into Dez. And Dez did wind up with 11 touchdowns, but only 930 yards, 16.9 yards per carry or average catch, and a long of 79. So again, it's not like an offense where you go like, oh my God, he's got weapons every single place, like say Tim's offense, but yet he's putting up ungodly stats.
Yeah, he's got almost 6,400 yards from scrimmage. Oh my God, he outgained the opponent by 1,700 yards.
Yes, that's just sick. So Zeb really didn't have a bad game this year, except for the game he played against me. Somehow I was able to beat him.
You just jinxed him.
I know. No,
the guy's getting ready. I'm 13-3. I'm the number 2 seed. I'm playing a team with some weaknesses here in my first game, and then on the air, Dennis Crowley says, "I really didn't have a bad game this year. You just jinxed the Dallas Cowboys."
Boom. I also want to say that the Buffalo Bills have not had a bad game this year, and the Tampa Bay Bucks haven't had a bad game this year. So there you go. Covered all bases there.
I'm gonna pick Minnesota. I'm gonna pick Minnesota now because you jinxed Zeb.
Be my guess. I need to pick up a game or 2 or 3. So what do you think?
Zeb emailed me. We email back and forth sometimes. In the preseason, he emailed me before the season, and he asked me if I felt his team was a championship contender if he had Josh McCown.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, it's a good team. Anybody could do anything, but it's probably not a team that I would have considered to be in that particular group.
Yeah, but you did before the season, you did group Dallas with the elite teams, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That was, I think, once I saw how the team looked, and I've got a lot of respect for Zeb's coaching because he's done a lot with some shaky quarterback play in the past.
Yes.
So yeah. So anyway, so I was wrong when I told him that via email, but I was right when I posted publicly. So that's good.
Well, let me go over Dallas's defense real quick. I didn't mention that. Zeb plays a 3-4.
They do have one.
Zeb plays a 3-4. He's got 6'9", 5'0", 5'4" up front.
Can I interrupt you a moment?
Sure.
As a listener, I lose track when you mention the defensive line and you say the run and pass rush together. Like if you tell me he's got a 6.55, bang, I know what kind of run defense he's got there. And then you tell me the pass rush. I'm just saying, for me as a listener, that's clearer.
Okay. So he's 6'5" up front with a 9 pass rush on one end. Besides
Calais
that,
Campbell.
not much. Yeah, Calais Campbell, stud defensive end. His 4 linebackers go 4-4, 6-4, but 2 of them, well, actually 3 of them have premium pass rush cards. Lamar Woodley is with a 4-9, Carlos Dansby in the middle with a 6'8, and Calvin Pace on the outside with a 4-12-2. So those guys are going to be coming in. You know Zeb. Zeb loves to blitz his linebackers, loves to move guys around. He never leaves his defense. I don't think he's ever seen a defense that he's left perfectly alone. He's got to move somebody. Sticking 2 guys on one side, bringing the free safety down. His secondary is the best in the league. He has 6.555.
Really?
I think I can't think of another better one. He doesn't have a single 4 in the secondary. And
what about San Diego?
Let me see San Diego. The mighty Chargers.
Well, he's got. Well, he always has 6s everywhere. That team.
Yeah, he's. You're right. He has 6.556. So Zeb has the best secondary of any playoff team.
Yes.
And he matches San Diego really because that free safety is always moving around. It doesn't matter if it's a 5 or a 6. It's rarely standing still.
It matters.
Yeah, it does matter because you can bring the 6 down.
You blitz a guy and you bring that safety up.
Yep.
And now there's no disappearing linebacker rule on that safety.
Word. True. So, but the point is Zeb's defense, like you said, best in the league in points allowed. And a lot of that's personnel, but a lot of that's coaching.
I'll tell you what, a lot of that is coaching because this personnel, this is not a number 1 defense in the league personnel group. You would not look at the defense and be like, they're going to be number 1 in the league. Now, and part of it shows, and especially I think if you're a good defensive coach, it just shows, like you mentioned last show, the supremacy of the 3-4. Because if your linebackers, if you played a 4-3 and your linebackers were 4-6-4, you'd be in trouble. But he's playing a 3. But you play a 3-4, and you're 4-4-6-4. That's not bad. I mean, that left inside must be spending an awful lot of time out by Lamar Woodley. You bring your free safety up to help the right guy. You've got good coverage guys with your short pass guys. You can shut down a lot of those flats pretty easily, and then he's got 6.55 in the defensive line, so he's going to get some run stops there. So, and of course, there's only a handful of really good running backs in this set. So, and again, but like you said, it's the coaching. And there's some personnel there, but this is not a team that when you look at the personnel before the season, you say, oh wow, this defense is going to be great.
Right. Yep. But Zeb knows how to coach him up, and he will coach him up again when this game comes around. Now, the one thing with that style of coaching is that you do wind up leaving some holes. If Dale can figure out where those are going to be, then he can hit some big plays. But it's kind of hard to do, and I see this game is going to be the most lopsided of the first round. I'm going to predict a 38-17 win for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, wow. Well, you know what I thought was interesting is when you mentioned Zeb moving guys around and there being openings, you got a guy here in Dale who apparently doesn't mind taking some shots down the field. So it might be a bad matchup for Zeb if he gets unlucky on a couple of the calls where he's moved his free safety and Dale's throwing a bomb with Manning, especially from his own 49-yard line. With those 351-yard completions that he has on the season. But conversely, if Dale's trying to move the chains with flat passes, well, here's what's interesting. Dale's going 4 wide. Zeb's not going to sit in that 3-4. He's going to go nickel 3-3-5. And now one of those outside linebacker 4s can be targeted more easily. Zeb's extra defensive back is a 4. So that could create an interesting situation. Minnesota got destroyed the first go-around, 39-11. I'm trying to find a way here to pick the Vikings. So
Yeah.
pick
the Vikings. Please pick the Vikings.
Well, I'm trying to find a way to pick them so that I can say that you jinx Zeb. And then if Zeb loses, hold on. Let me look at this Dallas offense again a second, real quick. I know we're running low on time. Josh McCown is a terrible player in real life. Strat knows that deep down. What the hell? I forget what Minnesota defense look like. I'm gonna go for the upset.
Wow!
Zeb.
Thank you. Excellent. There, I'm counting up my winnings.
Zeb, I'm gonna come out. Zeb, I was all set to pick you, Zeb. I thought the Dallas Cowboys at 13-3, the number 1 defense in the league, were going to win this game with the home cooking. But
you like my jinxing power.
But Dennis Crowley jinxed you. Dennis Crowley came out and said Zeb hasn't had a bad game all year, as if to say Zeb's going to have a bad game right now. And I gotta say Zeb, he's trying to avoid me making Zeb feel bad and angry towards Dennis by throwing all the sound effects in there, but none of it. I will not be dissuaded. Dismayed.
I think
so. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the prediction. I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna say it's gonna be that Minnesota gets some early bombs. Maybe Zeb fumbles a punt or a kickoff, and I'm gonna look at Minnesota 33, Dallas 30. Upset.
I like it.
It's all Zeb's, and it's all Dennis's fault with the jinx. Otherwise, I was going to pick Dallas. But I'm picking the Vikings.
Well, that just about wraps up our playoff preview. I think that we were able to get through all the games. We had some fun. No offense, believe me. I love each and every one of you. And I was just kidding when I said I don't care if you like me. I really do. I really do. No, but this is all about having fun, talking Strat, and we would love to have any of you guys on. If you're ever up to coming on the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Just shoot Tom or I an email, and we can talk about your amazing victory. Or Zeb, you can come on and rip me a new one for jinxing you. How's that sound, Tom?
That sounds fine to me.
All right. You have any last words for our audience?
Let's see. We got the SSFA draft coming up this Saturday morning. I am proofreading my mock, which will be going up on the website shortly. The what is it? The SOMIFA section of the Strat forum, and we'll be back for the semifinals of SOMIFA, and possibly for a post-draft show. I don't know yet. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'd be cool to do a draft recap and talk about some of the picks we liked, some of the picks we didn't like, and how well that we did, how we cleaned up the league, and just are ready to dominate, right?
As always.
Okay. Well, thanks. Timing is everything.
I got
All right, Tom. Sounds good. Okay. So we'll see everybody. Take care.